Hello everyone, and welcome to the lecture on the course notes. In this lecture, we're going to discuss briefly how to get the course notes and then give you a brief tour of the course notes themselves. Go ahead and check the resources section for this lecture, and you should be able to download a .zip file. The name of the .zip file is r-course-html-notes.zip. Then, go ahead and unzip or extract the files from that .zip file, and they should all be a group of HTML files. You should see them organized by folders. Let me go ahead and show you what that looks like. Alright, when you're in the course, you should see something like this that says resources available. This will be a video, but you'll click resources available and you'll see r-course-html-notes.zip. Go ahead and click on it to begin downloading it. Once you've downloaded that file, go ahead and extract the folders and files inside of it. I'm going to go ahead and jump to that now. Alright, here I am. Once you've extracted and unzipped the actual r-course-html notes, you'll get something that looks a little bit like this, and you should see R for data science and machine learning. Go ahead and double click that folder, and then you'll see a variety of folders. These folders contain the course notes, and almost every single lecture that's a video lecture has some notebook or notes associated with it. For instance, we're going to start off with the basics of R. And you'll go ahead and for the very first section, click Basics of R and Data Types. And you'll see R Basics, R Data Frames, R Lists, and R Matrices. These four folders are going to cover the first sections of the course. And that means you're going to go ahead and for the very first section, click R Basics, and you should see a bunch of HTML files. And the name of the files corresponds with the name of the lecture. For instance, if you're on the lecture called Arithmetic with R, the corresponding notebook is also called Arithmetic with R. And if you ever have any trouble finding these, you can go ahead and just post to the Q&A forums, and I'll help you find it. But then, you can just double-click on that HTML file, and you should see a pop-up in your browser with that actual HTML file. And then you can zoom in and check out the Arithmetic with R. This is a very basic lecture, but essentially there's notes, and then there's actual code. And you can see that the code is in what is these little code cells here. And this is the code that you can copy and paste into RStudio. Let me go ahead and show you another example that's a little more complex. I'm going to go ahead and jump back to the notes. Alright, here I am at the notes. Let's say you've continued on with the course and now you're at the vector and indexing and slicing lecture. Again, you'll just double click on this HTML file and it'll take you to the notes for that file. And you'll notice that these notes not only contain code, but they also contain useful information that you can read, and it's basically explanations that supplement what I'm saying in the videos. So you can always reference these notes in case you want more information than what's in the videos. And if you ever want the exact code that I put in the videos, you can just copy and paste what's in these cells into your console in RStudio. Something to note is that these cells assume that you're putting everything into the console, not the R script. Sometimes if you put stuff in the R script, you'll have to declare print, and we'll go over that in a future lecture. But for now, just keep in mind that if you paste this into your R script code and run it and nothing happens, it's probably because you don't have a print statement actually printing your results. For instance, here I just say v1. That will work in your console, but if you have it in your R script, you'll need to say print v1. Once you get to that section of the course, you should be pretty comfortable with that. But go ahead and always post to the Q&A forums if you have any questions on that. Now that we have an idea of what these notes actually look like, let me go ahead and give you a brief tour of all the notes for this course. I'm going to go ahead and hop back to the notes. Okay, here's the entire repository of notes. You'll notice we have basics of R and data types. That's going to be the very first section you encounter. So go ahead and just start off by looking at the notes here. You'll start with R basics and then move on to things such as R matrices. And here are the lectures for the R matrices section. Then you'll move on to the data frames, and then you'll also move on to the lists. Once you finish the basics of R, you may have some training exercises that show up during that section of the course. All training exercises are located under the training exercises folder. That means no matter what section you're in, even if it's machine learning or data visualization or basics of R or programming with R, if you ever encounter a training exercise, you can find it easily by going to your training exercises folder, and then you'll see capstone and data viz projects, exercises, exercise solutions, and machine learning projects. For now, at the beginning of the course, you'll only have training exercises. You'll go ahead and click on one of these exercises. For instance, the first one you'll get is the R Basics exercise. Go ahead and click on that R Basics exercise, and you'll see something that looks like this. And essentially, this exercise just has a bunch of questions for you to answer. And before every exercise, I give you a brief introduction to what I actually expect for you to do for the exercise. You'll go ahead and answer these questions in RStudio. Now, all the exercises in this course are self-graded, and that means they're solutions for the exercise. Going back to the actual notes, here we are back at the exercise notes. If you want the solutions, you just go back one, click exercises-solutions, and you'll see solutions for all the training exercises. And that covers the exercises for basically the first half of the course. Going back to the training exercise, once you finish the first half of the course, you'll start approaching the capstone project and the data visualization project. That's located under the capstone and data viz projects folder. Go ahead and click on it. You can click on the capstone project, and that's the Moneyball project that we'll be working with. There's the folder or the HTML file right there for it, as well as the data that's relevant to that. Again, we always show an introduction to the projects, and that means if you're ever confused on anything, you can just reference the intro to the capstone project lecture. And then for the data visualization project, again, you can reference that here. Moving along, you'll also have machine learning projects. I'll review all this information when you actually get to the machine learning section, but if you're looking for the ML or machine learning projects, you'll just click under training exercises, machine learning projects, and then there's project assignments and solutions, as well as the CSV files for the data for those machine learning projects. I'll go over all this information again when we actually get to that second half of the course. But for now, what you should just be worried about is being able to find that zip file, unzip it, and accessing the basics of R and data types, and then going to the relevant section for you. Then you'll keep moving on to things such as data input and output. There's some example files for here for you as well. Then there's programming of R, things such as for loops, functions, etc. Advanced programming. Then there's also data manipulation, which is the guide to the plier, tidier, pipe operation. Data visualization has all these plots for you, as well as a cheat sheet that you can check out later. And then there's interactive data visualization and programming with R. All right. If you're ever confused on any of this or you're having trouble unzipping the file, go ahead and just post to the Q&A forums, and the other students and I are happy to help out for any questions you may have. All right. Thanks, everyone. And one more note. A lot of people wonder, why do we choose HTML files instead of PDF files? Well, the reason for that is that PDF files will sometimes tend to cut off code if the code is too long. And with HTML files, you can see the entire cell of code, no matter how long that particular line of code was. And that's why we chose HTML files for this course. If you prefer PDF files, you can just Google search HTML to PDF converters and convert all these HTML files to PDFs if that's easier for you to print out. Although if you just open this in your browser, such as while loops, you should be able to just right-click and then select print and print out this file. But again, the reason I chose HTML files instead of PDF files is that if this particular line of code is very long, the PDF will have a cutoff that's smaller than the HTML file. And the HTML file will be able to display everything. Okay. Again, post to the Q&A if you're confused on any of that, but thanks, and I'll see you at the next lecture.